May meeting of the Public Safety Committee for Rutherford County. And we'll start, and I'll entertain a motion for the minutes from the last meeting.
Move to approve.
Second. And a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And gonna put things a little bit out, unless somebody's got a big problem, but this, the Correction Work Center. Superintendent Solandi asked me if he could go first. His daughter has got a athletic or academic banquet tonight, one or the other. And it starts about 30 seconds ago, so if he can come in and he can give us his report.
One has to come in for
But boy, it's going to cost you in the end.
That's why you coming today.
Especially when I went back and looked and you see where he was, way down near the bottom. Okay, so the Correction Work Center, if you want to pull it up now. Okay. You want to take the work center? Yeah.
All right. We'll start with the last board meeting, just conducted on May 4th. Went over the expenditures and discussed that an amendment would be needed to provide enough for paying some employees, some long-term employees that are retiring or resigned. And the board approved the amendment. There's a copy of it, we'll go over it later. Discussed the chiller. We were having some problems with it, so we shut down one end of one of the chillers just to examine it, and we called in Train to, and they did a fluid analysis, came back negative, so we restarted it, and they told us if nothing happens, then everything's great, but if something does happen, we can change it now while it's still working, and it'll be a $5,000 difference if you wait until it actually stops running and we need to repair it. But right now it's been running for going on 2 weeks, and so far no problem, so hopefully that took care of itself. We had a Mother's Day event the Saturday before Mother's Day for the female inmates with collaboration with New Vision Church, and that went great. It was an outdoor event. Next page is the yearly activity report. Reflects our average census head count for April was 150. See the felon days, misdemeanor days are below that. Working crews has been going good. The programs are going good, GED, religious programs. GED is about to conclude after, I think they have one more test coming up this month, and then they'll be on the regular school calendar. They won't have any classes during the summer months. Next page is the work release program. Currently we have 22 in the program. Still going great, collecting funds and fees and room and board and child support. We had 3 inmates hired full-time at one of the locations in the lab, and one hired full-time at Prescotech once they got released. So they're still being gainfully employed by these employers once they...
Are these just startup jobs for them and they look for something else, or are they...
Yeah, unless they're doing... Some of them actually moved up to managers there, So, if they want to stay and make it a career, that's on them. But it's, continual, salaries and helping them get their life on track. The monthly worker report reflects the worker days, the crews that went out each day for April, and we totaled, and that's even including the compound workers, tallied 118,872. We saved the county and labor. The next report is the state litter pickup. We got $2,571.52 from the state for doing that. And this is the amendment. So.
Okay.
I move to approve the report, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
And we got a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. So, got a budget amendment.
Yes. Once again, like I said, the amendment is needed to provide sufficient funds in the overtime line. This line has been exhausted because comp time balances have to be paid out when employees have left employment. This amendment also provides funding to pay down some of our active employees' comp time whose balances are near the 2040 cap. We're requesting to increase 187 overtime line, 21,000. We are taking 5,000 out of 169 to part-time and 19,745 out of 399 to other contracted services.
So it's all within your budget.
What do you use that 399 for usually?
Contract like the ABL, which does our food service. Who's another contract?
You're still gonna, that still will be okay?
Oh, yes.
With this?
Any other questions? Entertain a motion under that amendment.
I move to approve.
Got a motion?
Second.
And a second. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Gurley?
Yes.
Commissioner Nipper?
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes. Is this the DOT one?
Right, the
Is
state
that
litter
just-
pickup contract.
Uh-huh.
Just want to present to y'all, it's time to renew it, beginning July 1st. And nothing has changed with it. Same amount, the cap is $33,785. Like I said, it'll be from July 1st to June 30th of 2016. The same state highways and streets are identified in it. Any questions about it? There's nothing changes.
Okay.
Do you need any action on that part?
So we have to approve it and pass it on? Or?
I believe so, because it goes to budget
Yeah,
also.
it's got money. Okay. So you've heard the request. We have a motion, same as it's been for the last several years.
I so moved.
Second.
And we got a second. Do we need to, there's no money involved for us here.
You can do it either way.
Okay, we'll just, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Thank
Have
you.
a Good evening.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Mr. King.
Yes, sir.
All right. You ready? You want to start with the first one we have is the drug court. I mean, the recovery court's report. That's one.
Just in the recovery reports report, the main focus this time is on the Veterans Treatment Court and hopefully having it operational in full capacity by the end of September. We are in our pilot, trying to start our pilot program by the end of this month, the beginning of June. Thanks to Representative Don White and others, there was legislation passed this year relating to helping give funding for the Veterans Treatment Courts that are coming operational in the counties. Typically what we receive so far in the drug court is there's an assessment for every charge or every fine that's levied on a drug charge. We receive $70 into our operations for the year. This will increase that by $50 and take that up to $130. The clerk and the state will keep 10, $120 will come back to the drug court. 70 for the drug court operation, 50 for the Veterans Treatment Court. On average, we've been receiving anywhere from $85,000 to $96,000 a year in that drug court fine. So just kind of doing the conservative math, it should bring anywhere around $60,000, $65,000 each year, we anticipate.
Does this allow you to hire a person, or what's it going to be used for?
This will hopefully allow us to hire either a part-time therapist or a case manager to help with that caseload. We've also talked about the county looking into funding a county veteran service officer position, something we've had in the past here. I know 91 out of 95 counties have a veteran service officer position in its county. What I've looked at is I've spoken with Mayor McFarland from Murfreesboro. I've reached out to Mayor Reed. I haven't spoken with her yet, and I'm trying to reach out to Mayor Waldron to see if there's any commitment from the city mayors about helping funding that position. Mayor McFarland has agreed in principle to it. We just need to talk to City Manager Rob Lyons about that, but he doesn't see a problem in having the other cities kind of help pay and fund that position, since the majority of our veterans do live in the cities in which that officer will serve for the benefits. So we're looking at ways to help try to fund that in some capacity, and then the remainder of the money is looked to for a therapist or a case manager. So trying to be as self-sufficient as possible.
All right. And we'll move on. You got a report on there for us.
And that basically talks about that, and then the other 2 pages are the drug court statistics and our DRI court statistics. This is kind of a short month, so May is a little skewed, but in April and May you can kind of see that our primary drug of choice has been the opiates, prescription medication. Outside of that, marijuana's next. But we are still seeing a huge problem with prescription drugs. That seems to be the #1 drug of choice right now. For the most part, the drug screens are looking good. We haven't had too many relapses, a lot more positive, which is good. Things are moving in a better direction.
Do we have any questions on our report?
The $60,000 for the new Veterans Court, those monies have to be handled separately from the other court. They can't be intermingled if we come to the end of the year and we're short in one and over in the other. Can they be intermingled anyway?
I believe you could pay for staff, whether for the director's salary, the assistant director, or anyone that has any relation. The Veteran Service Officer, the other key thing to that, which we could use to help fund that, is we would like to have the Veteran Service Officer serve as a case monitor for those going through the Veterans Program. I mean, that VSO is already going to sit with each veteran and make sure that they're getting the benefits that they need, that they have housing, they have clothing, they have food, that they're finding a job, very similar to what we need in a case monitor. So we figured we could use that in a dual role to expand the services of our Veteran Service Officer.
Thank you.
No further questions. I'll entertain a motion for the report.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you much.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. I'll keep you posted as to the mayors to see if they will come to the table with money.
Hopefully. Sometime.
All we can do is ask.
Yeah. Okay. Mr. Good, OSHA.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, it's waiting Sunday for 3 more hours, isn't it?
For you, I've brought the reports for the month of April. You'll notice in the month of April we had a total of 19 injuries requiring medical attention. That brings us to a total for the year of 68. As you see, 41 of those 68 are OSHA recordables, 19 had restricted days, 14 lost claim days, and 8 all others. Next page is the graphics for that, and you can see out there to the side, 67 to this time in 2013, 72 in 2014, and 68. So we're running pretty close to normal there as far as the number of claims that we've had.
But our job population has increased.
Well, you're absolutely right. We did have a couple of schools that's opened up in the last couple of years. So as far as the population is for the county employees, that's obviously increased by about 500 people. This month, for the month of April, the total dollars incurred so far this month is $95,476. I'd like to address that just a little bit later as we get further on. As you look at the Board of Education, you can see the Board of Education had a total of 11 claims, and the total dollars incurred there are $60,103. Most of that is incurred for that $60,000, believe it or not, is from one claim. One claim alone was $38,000 in that. That had to do with an assault on a teacher and requiring medical attention and surgery. So over half of that is to one claim in that. So just to kind of see that where that's coming from. The highway department.
Let me ask a quick question. When you have a situation like that, Mayor Burgess, you may be able to help. Is any of that reclaimable?
It could be, but if you're talking about a student assault, the student or the family may not have any funds to compensate the county in any way like that. It would obviously have to be taken out of the workers' comp area and taken into the legal system more than what we have. So have to go in the legal system to recover that funds.
Well, since that was Board of Education, who makes that decision? Is that
Yeah, it would be the
school
board of it,
board?
the school board, and they have their own attorney to determine how to go with that. Yes, sir. In the highway department, we've had 2 claims, and you'll notice that the total dollars incurred there is $23,000. Over $22,000 of that is for one injury. Also, somebody who fell, broke an arm, and required surgery. So both of the claims that we have, one for the Board of Education and one for the highway department, those 2 claims equaled $60,000 of the $95,000. So you can see that's 2/3 of the dollars incurred. And you'll see that when we get back to the last page of the report for the graphs, how that jumps up way up there. Under the county general, we had a total of 6 claims, and slip, trips, and falls basically is the number one thing that's happened, obviously. $11,000 for that. And when you turn over to the next page, you'll notice that of those 6 claims, 5 of them were with the sheriff's department, and that's where the bulk of the incurred dollars are too. That also gets into not only slip, trips, and falls, but you also have struck or contact with inmates that happens. And usually when that happens, you'll have not just one individual, but you'll have multiple individuals with one inmate that gets involved, and so then that's where the claims amount quickly. So if you have one inmate and 3 officers and they're all involved, then you end up with 3 claims as a result of that one incident. On the last page of your report, you can again see how the last couple of months, in February and in April, it's shot up, mostly, again, because of 1 or 2 claims in each of those months. When you add a couple of claims, in fact, in February, about 4 claims totaled $60,000 as a result that caused that increase in February. And of course, I pointed out the 2 incidents in April that cost another $60,000, and that's why it's peaked up. Just a point to remember on those is those claims are incurred dollars. They've not been paid. That's what can be expected. If somebody returns to work early or the expenses are not quite as high, it'll take a little while, but those dollars can come down. And then we'll have some months, of course, that the injuries or accidents will be less, and then we won't have as much. Right now, we're getting ready to go into the summer months with Board of Education. So we won't have teachers there, but we will have a facility staff, custodian thing, preparing the schools again for next year. And that's one thing that we always like to caution on, because when they get out there for the summer months, stripping and waxing floors is also a big hazard. And so just like to always remind anybody watching or anything like that, especially in the summer months, be careful about stripping and waxing floors in the schools.
And during the summer, a lot of the schools are open for their swimming pools and some of their facilities, basketball courts, etc. If somebody gets hurt there,
Now, if it's not related again to the schools, they're not working as an employee, then it would not be a work-related injury. Being that if somebody came on the school property, like a child, and fell and got hurt, then it would be again taken out to a different system other than the work-related system or OJI's program. But in that, most likely it won't be held against the county because they're accepting responsibility going out playing basketball or something on the court or something like that. So,
any further questions?
We talked a number of times in the past that dollars and accidents and number of employees and why some of those things are going up. We talked about the total incident rate and a whole number of times, and you said you were working on that. Where do you stand with that?
yes, sir. In fact, I did provide it. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to come in and explain it the last couple months. I had it in the reports that I'd sent. Of course, I didn't bring it with me tonight. I'd be glad to bring it back next month if you'd like to have it explained open here. I'd love to do that.
Okay.
I will do that then. Sorry, I should have brought it with me this time, but I provided it the last couple of times and just thought it might be redundant for you.
Are you just, are you starting it, or do you have some history?
Oh, no, sir, I've got history.
Oh, cool.
It goes back to 2007 forward. Every year since 2007 is, believe I, what I've got to show for you on that.
Thank you.
All right. Do we have a motion?
So move.
A motion to approve the report. Second. All in favor? Any further questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you, Mr. Wood.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Commissioner. Mr. Gregory. Yes, sir. Budget amendment, we'll get it last. So we're going to start with the report.
Yes, sir. For the month of April, we had 556 animals enter into the shelter. 21% came from county jurisdictions, 10.6% came from the city of Laverne, 52% came from the city of Murfreesboro, and 16.4% came from the town of Smyrna. You can see we had 526 animals exit the shelter. 53.8% of those were adopted or reclaimed. 35.6% were humanely euthanized, and it gave us a live release rate of 60.3%. 43 of the animals that were reclaimed were from the surgery programs. That was the animal friendly grant. It's been wrapped up now.
Breaking it down from dogs to cats, what is it?
As far as the surgery programs?
Now, release program.
As far as, well, we had a 74.1% adoption reclaim percentage for dogs and a 44.7% for our cats.
Okay.
Yeah, our dogs are always higher. The cat number has started trending upward over the last couple of years. It's starting to plateau just a titch.
I
But
begin to notice that.
I'm sorry,
I begin to notice that, yeah.
the cats plateauing or increasing?
The adoption rate's increasing.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. What's helped right now on the adoption, especially for our dogs, that's always kind of been in the 60% rate or so. The rescue wagon, we have 2 transports this month. I think we had 2 transports last month. As far as our dogs for space, thus far this month we put down 3 dogs for space. We put down 3 dogs last month for space. I wish we could say the same for cats, so we're working to get there.
Understand.
As far as animals in the shelter at the end of the month, there should be a 4 there, of course, minus just the 0. We had 113 animals. We had 1,899 people visit the shelter and 2,256 logged calls or voicemails. We had 1,699 calls received for the month and 1,763 calls that were completed out. And you can see the breakdown of the jurisdictions of those as well. Our officers traveled 12,593 miles for the month. Fiscal year to date, we've had 5,574 animals that have come into the shelter. You can see that adoption reclaim percentage down at the bottom, a little bit lower because we started the rescue wagon in February, which affected the live release rate at 44.9% for the fiscal year. But the last couple of months, it's been 60 plus. Today, I think we're tracking 52, so it's still higher than what it had been. We had over 19,000 people that have entered the shelter and over 21,000 voicemails and calls. Calls received to the shelter for service were 15,570, and we completed out 15,620, excuse me. And we traveled over 106,000 miles. For the rabies exposure and bite report, we had 27 bites reported for the month. We tested one of those animals. It did not come back positive. For our other exposures, we had 14 of those reported. Tested 6 of those animals and had 2 come back positive. So we've had 6 positives since January 1st, all of those being skunks. And I think if memory serves, even all the way back to January, all of those were skunks came into the yard, dog had contact with the skunk, we tested positive, and the skunk tested positive. Thankfully, I don't recall any situations where we were able, I believe all of those situations we all did either a 45 or 60 day home observation or home quarantine type thing.
You got a call from one of our schools, an elementary school or something like that, and says there's some skunks running around out in the play yard, what do you do?
Well, if you recall back in the fall, when we redid the rules, we stopped doing wildlife. We give citizens kind of a one free that we educate them, give them out wildlife removal companies. With the schools being that they're a county agency, it doesn't make sense for them to hire a wildlife removal company to come in and expend that money. So under the mayor's guidance, I spoke with Mr. Clardy over at the schools. They have their own traps. Those are gonna, if they have a problem with a skunk, their janitor or the principal would set the trap, monitor the trap, and contact us, and we would go out and remove that for them. Just didn't make sense for them to spend county money for wildlife removal. Right. Yeah. Right.
On the activity report, you got 1699 calls received, 1763 calls completed.
Yes, sir.
Was that calls left over, or?
Those would be calls, for instance, let's say I was at your house on April the 30th and we requested proof of vaccination for your animals. Well, you would have a 2-week time frame to come into compliance. Or if I had to come back out to your house the next day and those type things and do some rechecks, those would be calls that would go into pending and would remain open. So that's why there can be a lot of variation between the calls received and the calls completed.
Okay.
Any further questions on the report? If not, we'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve this report.
Second.
And we have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Okay, we've got a budget amendment.
Yes, sir. We're asking to move money around within our budget to get 3 lines back in order to finish out the end of the year. One is our overtime line item, the other is our communication line item, and the third is our utility line item.
Money's coming out of supplies, gasoline, and attendance. What's the attendant line?
The attendant line would be where our vet tech salaries come out of, all of our in-house staff and all of our officers.
You're okay there?
Yes, sir. We've had some vacancies. We do have, we have 10 officer positions. We have someone starting on Monday, so all those positions will be filled.
The original budget for gasoline is 41,000, and we've actually spent 37.
37 would be what it would, will be what the purchase order is remaining to D&D. Right now, we're tracking, I want to say we have 15 to 18 remaining. The gasoline's really helped us. Our gas bill went from being over 4,000 to in the $2,500 to $2,700 range.
What did you do with your budget for next year?
We left it the same right now just because gas prices seem to be trending upwards.
Okay.
That was a line, this is the first year we've ever had, since I've been here, not to come back and ask for additional money that I was aware of out of the pool.
And these are needed in salary, overtime, and looks like utilities for the most
Yes,
part.
sir. We're gonna cut it close. Utilities, if you look at our expenditure sheet right now, they're tracking well, but they always pay the June bill over into July, so I've basically got an extra month there that I've got to figure for to make sure that we're okay.
All of them, or just water, sewage, or?
I think every one of them actually are that way.
Is up?
They're not, well, they're up a little bit, yes, sir.
Okay. Move to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any further questions? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Gurley?
Yes.
Commissioner Nipper?
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Nunley.
Okay. We made 2,449 calls last month. The response time was 8 minutes. We had 39 DOAs and 13 autopsies. We billed $1,388,000, $1,388,370, and collected $567,483. It's, has us projected to collect $6,920,000, $920,368. We had $518,659 in insurance write-offs, and collection agency write-offs of $144,223. The number of calls continues to go up a little bit. That's resulted in a little bit of an increase in the response time, which we're concerned about. Not only that, but the acuity of the calls tends to be increasing as well right now.
Explain percent collections for 2013-14. It's got to be a misprint. The reverse of figures.
Yeah, the percentage collection is the percent on collectible, actually collectible calls. We're required to write off certain balances, and so that's not actually a collectible, even though we billed it. So that's what that result is, and that figure goes up and down because really and truly it's not a real figure, because you're using what you billed this month and you may be collecting for as far back as 3 months. The table at the bottom of the page is the vehicle chart. We drove a total of 50,535 miles. Maintenance cost was 10,628. Fuel cost 12,475. And then the total operating cost was 23,103. We made 807 calls out of zone. That number goes up significantly each month as well. On the next page is just a listing of in-services and training activities by our special teams, and then the SORT team as well.
Let me ask you a question about that on the out-of-zone call. And correct me, I may be wrong on this. It's but we're renovating the center station, and it's going to have dual ambulances in there. Is that Burton Street? Okay. And right now we only have one there. Okay, so that ought to help out his own calls when we get that finished, correct?
It will significantly help.
It seems like it, okay. So we are doing something, and that can help response times too. Even if you bring Manchester into the city limits, so to speak, or something like that, it's still longer to get there. But as we keep growing, yeah, everybody doesn't move over, do they?
That's true.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Following page is just a response time report on the response times for each ambulance station. That actually is addressed better in another page over in the report. The next page is number of calls in the commissioners' districts. And the next page is that same figure on a year-to-date basis. And the next page is the one that I said addressed that better than the previous page. As you can look at this page and tell who made which calls where. So Salem Road is one of our busier stations. It's the one at the top. It's our station number 1. There was 277 calls made in that zone. That ambulance made 182 of them. So if you look at Station 1, Station 2, and Station 4, those 3 ambulance zones border each other, and they also happen to be our busiest ambulances. So whenever one ambulance makes a call in any of those 3 districts, then that kind of starts a merry-go-round where we have to bring they're all each other's backups too, so that means that if we get another call in Burton Street District, then we have to either respond to MTSU or Salem Road, and then the Manchester Road ambulance is the backup on all 3 of those. So.
It's pretty busy in Manchester compared to
And if you look at Manchester's on that page, they make very few calls in their own zone, but they make a lot of calls in the other three zones. Then we have one thank you type letter. The only other thing I would tell you is that we have, for the most part, completed the move from the administrative offices at Burton Street over to the Pace Center, which was renovated. I'm the only one that's still at Burton Street, so I imagine I'll be there for a while because I've got so much junk. But eventually we'll get all moved over there, and that's working out pretty well. They're settling in and seem to like it over there much better. It's a better atmosphere.
Any further questions from Mr. Numbers?
Just math in my head, Mike, it looks like for 15, 14, and 13, between those 3 years, there's been almost a 10% increase in calls every year for at least the last 3 years. Is that concerning to you?
It is concerning, but I don't know what we can do.
I don't know either.
It's, if you look at the traffic has increased, and as all of us know, and of course that means more traffic accidents and that kind of thing. And about 50% of our calls are accidents, and about 50% are medically related.
You also got to remember, people move in, or the younger ones that are moving into this area with the jobs that are coming. And people who lived here for a while are getting older, so that's increasing the medical.
Big worries that.
Okay, you might feel young, but still. But it is. Okay. I'd like to ask one. This goes back to OSHA's, and we've got a dozen of the new type of stretchers now.
No, we only have 2 of those.
Only 2 now.
That's the fully automatic,
Automatics,
the
yeah.
electric stretchers.
I was just wondering.
We have a grant in place for to put those type of stretchers in all of our ambulances. Now, the rest of the stretchers are not like the old stretchers, the ones that were injuring everybody's back, but still the newer ones are. Gosh, that takes all the stress off of it because they go up and down. The old ones, you could load them into the back of the ambulance much easier, but you still had to lift them. And the new ones are, you push a button and they go up, push a button they go down.
As long as your thumb works right. Well, so when are those 12 going to be coming? You said you have the grant that's been approved.
The grant has not been awarded us, but we feel certain we're going to get it.
Okay.
And the company that makes the stretchers has assisted us in preparing that grant, and they seem to feel certain that we would get it.
If there's no further questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Motion is second to approve the report. Anything further? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. And you got a budget amendment.
We need to transfer some money into our drugs and medical supply line item. $10,000 will get us through the end of the year. We have a little bit of a surplus in contracts with private agencies because with our new CAD system, we budgeted for a maintenance agreement in the first year, but the first year was free, so we didn't have to pay that. And so that's where we would take the money from.
Just for the record, what are you running short of? What type of things are you running short of?
Just pretty much all of them. I think it's just because of the increased number of calls and the severity of the calls that are involved.
I move to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
A motion is second. Call roll, please.
Commissioner Gurley?
Yes.
Commissioner Nipper?
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Mr. Farley. Chief Farley, excuse me.
Mr. Stein, or Mr. Blaine, good too. First two pages just kind of covers from January 1st to last Friday the 15th, showing our total number of calls per year. and I've highlighted some of the, we've run 22 structure fires year to date so far. It seems kind of high to me. Had 2 extrications and 64 motor vehicle accidents with injuries and 40 vehicle MVAs with no injuries, for a total of about 43. And
Larry, those 22 fires, we have any fatalities there? I can't remember.
we hadn't had any so far.
Just outstanding job.
Chief, I think, I know you've highlighted those motor vehicle accidents down there with injuries and with no injuries, 64 and 40. That's 104. You know, everybody thinks that the fire department puts out fires. And I think it's important we recognize the fact that you're also out there on rescue.
Yeah, I think that's really one of the mistakes I've made, but I bring that to light. You know, we talk about the increased call volume with the fire department, but our biggest amount of our calls are MVAs and extrications across the county. And like Mr. Nunley just said, you know, the MVA call volume has gone up considerably across the county. So out in the county, we're running those calls with them. So, I mean, really the residents in this county and the city too that travel county roads are more likely to be involved in MVA than are structure fire. So, I mean, that's our biggest call volume. And if you look, I'll show you on down in the report where year to date, countywide, we've run close to 200 MVAs. The next sheet, third sheet, is just our, from the last public safety meeting till last Friday, showing our monthly report, which is kind of short because of the Memorial Day weekend. We've run 59 calls so far, and of course 17 of those are MVAs of some type. Next page is just the total number of runs of the motor vehicle accidents countywide, referencing Rescue 1, Rescue 15, which is out of Alville, Rescue 17 out of Kipton, and Rescue 21 out of Walter Hill. And as you look down through there, you're going to see where Rescue 1 runs out of Barfield, and you'll see where a lot of times Rescue 1 is running in these other zones, and that's because if these other rescues are down because of lack of volunteers there to staff it, then we have to run it. We've run quite a bit of calls out toward the Walt Hill area this last month. And one always out as far as Weekly Lane, but thank goodness we were canceled on that call.
And on Shelbyville and Rock Springs, with the riding Shelbyville Highway, and was it just lost control or some speed? Or
Impaired drivers under the influence of many different things, and you'd be surprised that the hour of the day that they would be impaired. We had one out on Highway 99 close to Low Road that pulled out in front of it. It was one of our EMS guys in his personal vehicle going back home, pulled right out in front of him and hit him, and both those gentlemen were impaired. And that was about 7 o'clock in the morning.
Where I was today when I came down here, I thought I'd be smart and not go back out through in Smyrna out, Lee Victory, stuff out to the Murfreesboro Road. So I went down Jefferson Pike and was going to cut on Old Jefferson, come out Florence Road. Well, somebody, and it was just in the city limits there was no shoulder. Here was this SUV. It was one car, 2 wheels on the side of the road, 2 wheels down over the embankment. And that's what it's making me wonder about there. And there's a lot of that is around this county that we have no shoulders.
Yeah. I didn't, as I went through the reports, I didn't see a lot of rollovers or stuff, and I tried to list in there when it's an ejection or we live flight somebody. And this month, it doesn't seem to be many rollovers, but it's just amazing to me how many vehicles we actually that will flip over or roll over, whatever reason.
Gotta pay attention.
Of course, Rescue 1, I've added this at the request. Mr. Phillips, Rescue 1 runs out of Barfield. Rescue 15 runs out of Alville. Rescue 17 is out of Kiptrell, and Rescue 21 is out of Walk Hill. Next sheet is the total call volume for the volunteer departments. And then you'll see down at the bottom, if you had the total number of MVAs to what we had, it's very close to 200 runs. So MVAs are really have really increased. And I think 24 structure fires. So out of the 24, we've made at least 22 of them. It's back up. The next sheet is just the list of structures that have had structural damage by fire that will require codes to be notified that they would have to pull a permit to either remodel or demolition or whatever. Also, I wanted to start the process too, and go, when I go to budget, July 1st, 2015, Walk Hill Fire Department will merge with the county, and at that time become Station 5. And that's my report.
Our plans for that, if everything goes to what's been put in, right?
Well, and we haven't heard anything out of the grant, so we're still hopeful for that.
Further questions for Chief Harley?
When was the last discussions you had with Walter Hill?
Last Friday, I met with Mr. Hudgens. He's in the process of bringing all the titles to their vehicles and their deed of their property, and we're in the process of getting all that information together to be able to take that to the county attorney, with all that stuff can be transferred over to the county.
He knows that it's July 1, though.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they're very well of that. Yeah.
Maybe now, because they weren't to start with.
Well, I mean, the discussions I've had with him and Chris Stiles, and you know, that's the target date I've given them. So I don't know about the firefighters, but I've been dealing with the chief and the president of the board, who I've been dealing with.
I move to approve his report.
Got a motion, we have a second.
Second.
Any further questions? In favor of the report, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you much.
I have a budget amendment where we have $2,422 worth of donations that were given, and we sale of an old fire engine we run through Gov Deals was $4,856 for a total of $7,278 that I want to transfer over into the line item 790. And also, we also sold an old ambulance but the equipment has to be picked up before Gov Deals will release that money. Well, that check coming today. So what I want to do is, with y'all's permission, because we're getting close to the end of the year, we can't pull the POs after June 15th, is I've got $5,596.25 that I would like to go ahead and get permission to add to that line item when I go before budget June the 4th. But I couldn't put it on, huh?
What is 709?
790 is equipment. We're going to use that to buy a new hydraulic pump
We don't have any.
for excavation. Oh,
Okay.
okay. You didn't get this? That's part of my fault. I didn't scan that in. I gave it to Miss Vicky and I didn't scan that in, so that's on me.
Okay. So,
You got 2 contributions and then a third one that came in today, right?
Well, it was actually what it was a sale of a fire engine, and we acquired an old ambulance that Rob Bell used for an air truck that we no longer needed, and we sold that on Gov Deals. That check came in today, but they can't post it till tomorrow.
Okay.
So instead of calling Mr. Schaefer and asking permission to take it to budget, I kind of wanted to present y'all with that information tonight.
Write
It's-
down those totals again. Larry.
We got, and I apologize, I should have scanned that into the board. It's donations, and we're $2,422.
What was that for?
We had a couple of fire watches that we did for a wedding chapel out on Thompson Road. We've had a couple of it where they're going in and building these wedding chapels, and they've not gone through the codes process and through the State Fire Marshal's office, where these places need to be sprinkled. And we've been working on that one and the one out on Franklin Highway. So in order to help them keep operating, We've provided a fire engine out there on different occasions with a full crew
When they've had an event.
when they've had an event. Allenville has been taking care of the one on Franklin Highway, and I mean, this has been, and the mayor's aware of this, until they got to get the building sprinkled. That way there's fire protection there for the crowd, and they're paying them and paying us $500 an event.
Okay.
And it just makes sure that the people there have, you know, in case something was to break out as far as fire, they got protection until they can get their suppression system in.
Okay. Are they working on it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. The one on Franklin Highway's got all the piping in, the sprinklers in the building. They just need to set their tank.
Okay.
So it's $4,856 on the piece of the fire engine we sold, for a total of $7,278.
And the one you just got in was?
And then the ambulance is $5,596.25. It's going to be a total of $12,874. We want to put in $790 to replace a hydraulic pump and extrication equipment. And again, I apologize. That's my sort.
All of that in essence is new money coming in that you want to
Transfer to equipment.
Heard the request. We have a motion.
move to approve.
We have a motion, we need a second. We have a second. Call roll, please.
Commissioner Gurley?
Yes.
Commissioner Nipper?
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes. Was that, one of the fire trucks, did you sell it to another county or something?
It was one of the old 1988 Hans that Murfreesboro donated the year when we first got started, and we sold it, and another volunteer fire department bought it. And if we're lucky enough to start acquiring more equipment, the ones that's 25 years old, we're going to put them on gov deals and sell those. And the plan is to take that money and put it back in to have purchase equipment.
I think you had a couple of vehicles on gov, that went through to go on gov deals, didn't you?
It was the engine and that old ambulance,
Okay.
and I think a convalescent ambulance service bought that, so they must be in pretty bad shape to buy that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Wait just a minute.
Yes, sir.
Is it okay if I asked him something about the fire tax?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I've been having several calls about people concerned about the fire tax. Several don't like it. I'd like for you to try to come up with some way to educate the public of how bad it's needed. A lot of people don't realize what kind of conditions, that a lot of things are in. We need to educate them somehow, and I think they'll understand it a whole lot better.
Well, what do you suggest? I'll be willing to talk to the media or D&J or Post. Anybody wants to talk to me. I probably need to try to get on WGNS to see if they'll. I imagine they would.
On Channel 19?
Yeah.
Just anything, because they're not aware.
And I'd be happy.
Of the
I'd be happy to
situation.
meet. In the community if they got a place to meet where I can come and answer questions and to kind of tell them what we're trying to do and the purpose for it.
It's been said that it's going to be considerable amount of savings for people. Well, it's not everybody, but if you do not have this fire service, it'll be a terrible cost for everybody on their insurance. And I think you need to get it out there somehow.
Well, and one thing that I've learned too is we've gone to some ISO classes, and that a lot of things are updating, and it's not only having the ISOs we got, but keeping them.
Right.
And also the part of the equipment being NFPA 1901 compliant also plays into that. So as these trucks get older, that can also hurt our ISO rating all across the county.
I talked to a man at an insurance company today, and he said without the fire protection, your ISO, say if you had a 6 now, it would go full blown to a 12, and your insurance would go up 25%.
Well, that's what I won't say a lot. There's some people who live close to the volunteer places, fire stations right now and all this, and they've got a 6. I'm happy with it. They said it goes going down. They don't realize that it could go up just as easy if we don't keep up with
Yeah.
everything.
And-
That's something to get across to them.
They've got-
You know,
they've got-
need concern for their neighbors too.
And of course, one of the things we've discussed too is, as time goes on, you know, a lot of things have changed. I've been in the county fire service for 25 years. There was times when you had a lot of people that were farmers and stuff and that were around close, and you know, there's so many houses now, everybody's traveling to work, so you know, there's many times that we arrive on a fire scene and it's me and 2 or 3 more, and that's it. And so it's not only that, but it's also the insurance thing, but it's also a guaranteed response. It's not that it's just that the volunteers aren't available in the daytime, and also it's getting harder and harder to find people to volunteer because of the commitment.
It's also a guaranteed rescue that you
Yeah.
just talked about.
Guaranteed rescue. I mean, you know, if God forbid somebody out on the north end of Walk Hill and that truck's not in service, you know, the closest thing to them is either Sword or us, and we're coming from Barfield. So if they're trapped in that vehicle, they're trapped until we can get out there to them. And you're looking at 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So
I know about a month ago, ISO was apparently doing evaluation here in
ISO has already evaluated Christiana Kittrell. They're going to evaluate Las Casas, and they've notified several of the volunteer departments.
the evaluator called me asking specifically, apparently they're getting much more detail because they called me asking about what we have, how it's connected, where we're going, and all that kind of details. Fairly detailed conversation, lasted probably 30 minutes regarding just communications. And that's just one small part.
One thing that we're going to try to do is we purchase these tankers. You can create through ISO what they call a water shuttle, and then with these tankers, if we can, you know, any given site that doesn't have hydrants, if you can prove that you can get on that site, set up a water supply, and pump 250 gallons for 2 hours, and it's all done on calculations, then that ISO 5 that we have, 6, also goes for those houses that don't have a hydrant. So, because what we're doing, proving to ISO that we can go to that location, set up a water supply, and keep that water going. So that's one of the things these new tankers are going to provide us as we bring those in. So, but Mr. Pierce, I'd be more than happy if you want to set something up to meet. I'd be more than happy to come and answer any questions and just kind of describe what we're doing.
Okay. Well, you don't need to tell me. You need to tell everybody in the rural area somehow.
Yeah.
You know, educate them somehow about it. I think they'd understand a lot better if they knew the situation that you're dealing with.
Yeah. But what I'm saying, if we could, you know, it's been mentioned about doing community meetings, and I'd be more than happy to do that at the fire hall or the school or, you know, whatever we could set up.
Okay. We'll talk about it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
TK, Mr. Cass.
How y'all doing? So you have my report in front of you. Jump to the second page on response. Just to highlight a few things, I won't talk through every single thing on here. We participated in some exercises the past month. Of course, the monthly TEMA communications exercise. We also participated in the National Defense Medical System tabletop exercise in Nashville. What that was is, as I've explained before, but it's probably slept since then. That's basically the system by which patients get moved from an impacted area like during Katrina, New Orleans, hurricane type thing, and they get moved to airfields and then out to hospitals. Smyrna, up until I think next month, I believe it is the primary airfield for Middle Tennessee. That'll switch to Berryfield in July once a couple other things get in place, but we still participate in those exercises. Other exercises, tabletop exercises that we participated in was last week we did a tabletop exercise with Smyrna Airport on a drill that we had today. Basically, it was just basically a review what we're going to do. Today they did a drill, really great drill they'd not done in there before. It was in cooperation with the military right there because that's how the airfield's set up. There's a class that the military runs for accident investigation, and they were going to set up a downed helicopter anyway. They brought in a Black Hawk, decommissioned it, put it in a position out at Training Area 4, at Smyrna volunteer training site, and they were going to use it for accident scene investigation, and they train military personnel in that type of thing. It's something they're going to do every year, I think, the way I understand it. Well, the good folks at Smyrna Airport got hold of that information, and we turned it into an exercise for our first responders to first respond, of course, to the accident. And out there today, you had Smyrna PD, Smyrna Fire, EMS, SORT, EMA was out there as well. And I probably left somebody off because my memory's not that great, but it was a really good exercise today. In addition, under preparedness, we conducted a lot of training over the past month, mostly with hazardous materials, to include a hazmat awareness class for Rutherford County Fire's rookie school. I taught, I want to say it was 15 people one evening. We've also conducted and set up some PIO training as well as meetings, public information officer training for all the jurisdictions within the county. As you know, when something happens around here, there's a lot of different agencies that the media are talking to. So we all get together with folks like Lisa and make certain that we're all on the same sheet of music, so we're all telling the same true story on the scene. And that sounds real simple, but that's a lot harder to coordinate than you think it is. Beyond that, from that, the other things we're working on is still working on the 2014 Homeland Security Grant. Just so y'all know, that says 2014. The Homeland Security grants have a 2-year, or at least up until recently, had a 2-year period of performance. In other words, you just got to spend the money in 2 years. So just because we're spending 2015 and it says 2014 grant is nothing to be worried about. However, they just extended it. Any future grants are going to be a 3-year period of performance. Of course, TK's rule is money doesn't get to be worth more the longer you sit on it. And what happens with any of these is we try to get the agencies that have committed to these projects to spend the money as efficiently and as quickly as possible, so we can get the benefit out of it as soon as possible. And usually that's pretty simple to do, because in order to get Homeland Security grant money, there should have been a project put together in the first place. Should have, there always is. And that's what's presented to District 5, and that's what we vote on. Speaking of that, the District 5 2015 Homeland Security amounts were just sent out. Rutherford County will receive a total of $75,899 between 3 projects under response, EMS, and law enforcement. As far as fixed site communications, a couple of updates. Hudson and Bradyville tower sites, the microwave is installed and the radio equipment is being installed, working that right now. As far as the temporary site at Eagleville on the water tower, that equipment is ready, and it's just a simple matter of coordinating a date to have it installed. Upcoming events, like I said, today we participated in the Smyrna Airport exercise. We have yet another comms exercise on the 2nd. We're teaching, along with THP, a traffic incident management class, 2 of them in one day, at the EOC on the 8th. The TEMA regional meeting is on the 18th, and we're helping MTSU out with a tabletop exercise on the 24th of June. Response, our responses have gone up a little bit. We've had 5 hazmat or spill related responses this month, 1 request for the mobile command, 1 request from TEMA for support outside the county, and 2 illegal burn responses to the same site. So yeah, I didn't understand the first time, so we'll call that that. Subject to questions, that concludes my report.
Share the illegal burns.
Well, it's a gentleman from, I think he said he was from Serbia or something of that nature. The first time went out, and both times it was Tim Hooker that went out on it. So, but the first time he went out on it, the guy was burning basically a trailer. Which, by the way, EMA, excuse me, we don't go out on illegal burns unless the responding agency decides that there's hazardous materials being abused of some sort. So we get involved, because what happens is there's got to be a report to TDEC, as well as there might have to be a cleanup company involved in taking care of the mess. And in extreme cases, EPA, folks like that. But So this guy, they got him to understand, and then I think a couple of days later, he got called out again because he actually burnt. There was a trailer there as well as a house. And this time the house was on fire. So it was interesting. That,
I just skimmed it, and it said that there was obvious evidence of illegal burns before.
Yes.
You know, plastics and stuff and
Yes.
mattress and all that. Okay, so what happens to them? That's what
well, my office doesn't have the ability to issue citations, nor do we want that. But that's but they're.
Is that the guy back behind
Yes.
you? Okay.
They issue citations. We also report to TDEC, and they can do some punitive things to a person as well.
As Chief Farley, did anything further happen on this incident?
Well, basically, he set the porch on fire and walked out and left it.
Yeah.
So we got there, the home was fully involved, and it was spreading in the woods, so I figured the house was pretty much gone. We kept it from getting off in the wooded area and traveling. So, and then it extended, and we caught another mobile home on his property on fire, but we got it knocked out pretty quick.
Is there anybody else have property near there?
There's somebody living in a manufactured home to the left, but it didn't disturb their property. It stayed on his property.
It seems, whether he has a passport and a visa and all this stuff or whatever.
What's funny is
he
he owned the property and he hadn't been in the country. What do you say? A couple of months?
About 2 months.
About 2 months he'd been in this country, and just had owned a piece of property, but he's already illegally burning stuff on the property. So.
And after being told,
Yes.
4 days later he did it again, so he doesn't care.
Yes, sir.
And I'll tell you, if that mobile home that was near him had caught, that'd be some really. Okay.
It was an interesting one.
So I guess, was it reported to TDEC?
Yes.
Also,
As a matter of fact, since it's an interesting story, TDEC was called on the first call. And when Tim went back out the second time, the TDEC had already been out there, the representative from TDEC. Tim found his card in the dirt out front. So the guy didn't really pay much attention to what was being told to him.
Any further questions for Mr. Cass? I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
A motion to approve the report. In a second. Any further questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you, sir.
All that weather coming out of Kansas and Texas and Missouri, you ready for it?
Yes, sir. We are. Like I said, I don't want to jinx what we've had, but we've had as you already know, we're finishing up what traditionally is your tornado season.
Yeah, we are.
But keep in mind that some of your worst tornadoes in this state happened outside that window. So, but yeah, keep fingers crossed.
How are you, Ms. Steve?
I am great. Good evening. You have in front of you our reports for April. There's not anything of concern, but I will happily answer any questions that you have.
How often does the state pay you, DCS? I mean, do they
For the
do-
most part, they're pretty regular. They had their software system had a minor glitch in it for a couple of months that we had to stay on them about. But barring that particular incident, they've actually been better than they once were.
So it's not quarterly or anything?
No,
usually
it's
pretty-
monthly. Yes.
Okay.
When everything is working, it's monthly.
Move to approve the report.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. They didn't want to talk to you. Okay, sheriff's report. Is this the best for last?
Always.
All doing all right?
Good evening.
Hello.
Okay, we have amendments. The first one is to recognize revenue from donations. These are to purchase 2 general purpose dogs. Donations for the Explorers, Shot with the Sheriff, and the Garden of Hope. The second one is to recognize a Mounted Patrol donation to Animal Food and Supplies account. Third one is to recognize revenue from sale of recycled materials to the Garden of Hope. And the fourth one is to transfer within our budget from custodial supplies to inmate clothing and bedding. I know. I know.
Catch up with them all.
Okay.
Because everything's an increase.
Do you need to go to the next, or we got more?
We can go to the next.
Okay.
We can take them all.
Actually, the next, Lisa had done these with, for the, it's actually just moving out of salaries. The first one is the amendment is requested to pay down comp time balances of the sheriff's employees. This is actually just moving it out of salary line items, moving it into overtime. The next one is provides funding for the part-time employees that were utilized to temporarily work shifts in the departments that had vacant positions that we needed. So actually it's the same thing, moving from salaries, going into part-time. The next one, the first amendment on this next page is requested actually to ensure there's sufficient funds in overtime for the rest of the fiscal year and to pay down comp time balances. So basically it's the same thing. It's moving out of detention salaries going into overtime. And the second amendment on this page is just a budget entry to ensure there's sufficient funds between the captain and lieutenant in detention.
So how many is that all total? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8. Okay. Just
Lisa had fixed these actually from finance on the salary ones.
Okay. Anyone have any questions? If not, we'll entertain a motion. Everything's within your budget except what's coming in.
So moved.
We got a motion. We have a second. I'm gonna have to ask Mr. Gorley to take over.
We have a second?
We don't have a second. But we got one now, okay? Got a motion, we have a second. Thank you, sir. Take it back. Okay. Call a roll, please.
Quick question, if you don't mind.
All right.
The reason I didn't second it, I was still looking at this,
Yeah,
stuff. The first one actually deals with the need for the most part,
The donations?
yeah,
For the dogs?
yeah. So that's.
This
no-
was a
no big deal,
specific
but-
donation
Yeah.
specifically for the
Right.
2 dogs.
But the third one and the fourth one deals with salaries and overtime, and just more explanation as to what we're doing there. I'm not real sure.
Are you talking about the salary amendments? Or-
Right, mostly the overtime that you're talking about. It looks like overtime for guards, overtime for lieutenants and dispatchers, so just explain what's going on there.
Basically, there's a lot of overtime needed because there's been several that's been on FMLA.
We
We've
talked
had,
about that last month.
we've
Oh,
had
that's exciting.
approximately 31 employees that are actually employees now. That's not counting the retirees that have filed FMLA that are still there.
We've had approximately 15,337 hours of FMLA, and that's not including the ones that have retired. 31 people, and those are the people that just took 12 weeks. And that's from July of 14 to March 31st of 2015. That's why you have a lot of the part-time, overtime issues. We've talked about FMLA and how it really and truly, it's a benefit for the employees, but it hurts the employer, and that being us, the county, because we still have to have positions staffed, regardless. If someone takes off, you know, we have to have a guard in the tower. We have to have a patrolman on the street. We've had one employee that's been out with his father for a while, and Lisa Marshoni's had to pick up the grant stuff. So, you know, somebody's still got to do the job when they're out, and it causes a great big burden. You know, this is an HR person.
I'm not questioning that. What I'm questioning is you're paying the overtime, but where's the money coming from?
It's
Where do
coming
you
from
draw
within
that?
our budget. It's just moving money. Lisa Nolan drafted all this to move within our
It's
budget.
actually just coming from the regular salaries. If you look on the first one that she fixed, actually she's taking it from the lieutenants, dispatchers, and other salary, which is regular salaries. Okay.
I'm not being clear, you guys, okay? I know that it's coming from other salaries.
Okay.
But why is there additional funds in those other salaries? Aren't we going to be paying for those as it relates to the need to pay those people? I'm just wondering why we're over budgeted for those salaries from that perspective then. If it's coming from internal, I just have a question as to why we're able to draw monies out of salaries to pay overtime. Are we over budgeted?
It's basically unfilled positions through the course of the year.
It's been an unfilled position.
That happens. It's more visible in their budget since they've got so many folks, but if they don't keep every position, we budget to fill every position for the full 12 months. And if that doesn't occur, then these monies are available to use for this purpose or to carry forward in the ending fund balance.
So there's an approved position and nobody in that position?
Correct.
Okay.
So the money is there to be used for these positions.
It could be.
But they're just.
Some of these are FMLA themselves, and they ran out of sick leave or whatever, and so that they're not getting paid.
Yeah,
The ones
they
that
ran
went
out FMLA time, so then
Right.
they're just unpaid.
And then there's sometimes, instead of overtime, they get comp time, right?
Correct.
And then after they get so much,
But we've
you
been
gotta
getting-
pay it down at
Past
some
couple of
point.
months, everything's pretty much been comp time,
Uh-huh.
because we've been out.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any further questions?
Do you have any control on how many can go out on FMLA? None at all?
Nope.
So they could all go?
They could all go.
It'd be a sickly bunch.
Only thing you gotta do is have a doctor's approved note, and we can't question it. You can go out on stress.
I can relate to them.
Yeah.
My wife here recently.
Said
Let her retire.
You'll have 100 new ones in the morning, won't you?
Okay. So we do have a motion and a second. Any further questions? Mr. Square? Okay. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Gurley?
Yes.
Commissioner Nipper?
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips? Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes. Give us a minute to look at the reports. If there's anything outstanding there that we gotta see.
I don't think so. It's getting down to this time of the year, it's basically what you would think.
after looking into reports, we will entertain a motion. If there's questions, go ahead and ask.
I'll move to approve the report.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further questions about the reports?
On your food supply, I know that's getting, look like it's getting fairly close. You think we're,
I think it's gonna be okay.
I ate there other night, and I have to tell you.
You weren't incarcerated, were you?
I
knew somebody was gonna go there.
I'll tell you what I ate other night, I can live on it, but I waited on that, I did. They did well.
You were just visiting.
Hmm?
You were just visiting.
Absolutely.
I don't think he's gonna tell us what they have for breakfast.
I didn't want to see what they had, but I didn't want to be there for breakfast.
Okay. Further questions? Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And what, we got a grant at the end?
Lisa?
Yes, Lisa will be a grant.
I think you have a summary of the grant. This is the Edward Byrne Justice Assistance Grant that we work with the city of Murfreesboro. They handle all the administrative duties of the grant. And it's $30,955. And we propose, it's 100% funded grant, no county match. And we propose to use that money to buy radios and accessories.
They get the odd dollar because they did the administrative part.
Yes.
It's part of it.
Yes.
You remember.
We received notice of it late last week, and we need to be, if it's approved, we have to ask the mayor if he would mind signing it for us, and it's due by June 26th, so we're on a real tight deadline.
Is it the same amount as last year?
Yes, it is.
Move to approve, Mr. Chairman.
And
I second.
we also are putting in there all people that need to sign are included in that motion.
We're gonna forward it to budget.
Okay, that's right. That's what I did before. Okay. Well, this then, we don't need a roll call, do we?
Yes.
No, we do.
You can,
You
if
want?
you can if you want.
Okay, call the roll. Somebody said yes, so we'll go with it.
Commissioner Gurley?
Yes.
Commissioner Nipper?
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to let you know, over the weekend, we hit 900 inmates, so we're getting close to that 950-ish that the jail can have. As of today, we had 867 for females sleeping on the floor, and we've still got the one pod shut down, as I explained to y'all last month. The last pod on level 3, doing the push-button showers. So we've completed 3 out of the 4 pods on level 3, and then we'll be going up to level 4, tiling the showers and putting the push buttons in and solving a lot of those problems that we've had since the inception of the building when it comes to shower problems. We think tiling it and putting in these push buttons is really going to help us out a lot because you don't have the moisture buildup because of the push button showers. Also, I do have, and it's just, I'm just to present it to y'all and y'all send it on, our handbook for the county commission's approval. We do it every so often. We're trying to start to do it every year. The only thing that's different is I did take out of our handbook this year the policy of having to live in the county to work at the sheriff's office. So we did rescind that. Other than that, it's the same handbook as we've had since I've been in office. So, any questions?
Why did you do that?
What? Because you know, looking at some of the candidates that had been applying from out of county that didn't know, it does shrink the pool somewhat. And you know, we have a lot of great employees at the sheriff's office that don't live in this county.
Yeah.
I put it in 2 years ago, but seeing some of the candidates that we were possibly looking over for that, I decided to go ahead and maybe rescind that and, you know, go back. And, you know, some of those people can reapply.
Are they gonna be able to take their cars out of county?
No.
Okay.
So we still, that's in our SOP. You know, there are some, I forget exactly how many, really captains and above that have approval. I think we only really have maybe 3 cars that go out of county.
Some go to county line and stop.
Yeah, a lot of them park at the county line. There's a lot of residents that live on the county line that you'll see cars. There's a couple that have a couple cars parked at their house because people live over the county line. So, but we're not changing that.
Anything further, the sheriff? I got one thing.
Okay.
I was copy of the flow chart.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. How about I'll give you this one back and ask you to come up with a new updated one. Can you do that? And maybe separate the jail, because it's pretty big. Separate the jail and the sheriff portion of it, and maybe get at least one for every one of us on here, and you know, make a bigger one if you want, but shrink it to an 1117 format or something like that.
The one I've got.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Yeah.
But I noticed this one here that I saw was it's outdated, and that's why I was wondering if if y'all can get that.
I think
I'm
pretty sure we can.
Okay.
I may have to get with IT because
But
I don't know if we
the
have the program.
color coding's pretty nice, but one for ones you shrink down, they can come out black and white. That's fine, but I'm sure you're gonna want one color coded.
I've got it. You can keep that because I got a big one that.
I was gonna give it back to you because it's not any good to me.
And look, I don't know where'd you get it? Who gave it to you?
Rhonda Allen, Commissioner Allen. I
don't know where she got it.
Well, she got it from y'all. She got 2 of them. That's why she gave me one.
She didn't get it from us.
I noticed one there that it didn't have, it went straight from the chiefs, like down to SROs, right down to Captain Hendrickson and no commander there.
Yeah.
And on that one. So
this
and
is
some more
definitely
things.
probably about 2-3 years old.
Okay, and that's why. And I think it'd be a good thing to have. And,
Yeah, I don't know. This is old. I don't know where she got it.
Okay, well, maybe somebody had it, maybe in one of your weaker moments you gave it to somebody a couple of years ago. No, but it would be a nice thing to have to look around.
Cool.
All right, okay.
Thank y'all.
Mr. Chairman, I do want to mention though why I was eating at the jail. I just
You had no choice?
I just received my diploma from the Sheriff Citizens Academy. That I did graduate after 15 weeks. And I'm putting a challenge out there to the rest of the commissioners that they got a class coming up in August that I suggest you go try. Because you'll find out more about what's going on in this county than you probably might want to know about. But I did learn a whole lot at that academy and met a group that I was really glad to meet. The citizens that was involved in that participated, got to know a whole lot there from those individuals that participated with me. But to meet the sergeants and the captains and ones that put that program on, it's well done. It is a good program, and if we got somebody that's watching tonight, suggest that they do attend that information academy, because you will find out a whole lot about not only just the sheriff's office, but a lot about this county in particular. But I did get a diploma, so I just wanted to...
And a free meal.
I need to retake mine. No, I did not get a free meal. I had to pay for my meal.
Oh,
and I've got the receipt to prove that I did pay for my meal.
But I do highly recommend and please invite y'all to it. Wanting to know how the sheriff's office works and why we do things, this class will teach you exactly everything about the sheriff's office and why we do what we do and how we do it. So please, come August, I challenge y'all as well. At least one, keep coming, keep learning.
You will survive.
Yes, you will survive. Thank y'all, gentlemen. Y'all have a good night.
We're adjourned.
We're adjourned.
I thought you probably
Appreciate it.